Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And tonight I would like to bring to you the April tarot and oracle card readings for the elemental energy of fire, which covers the zodiac signs of Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And as these are group readings, some of the messages may resonate for you, and those messages are obviously meant for you. And if they don't resonate for you, then it's meant for somebody else. So, and I read intuitively, so the messages that come through may not be the messages that are on the card directly. I read through the week, or through the month, week by week. And we'll just go with 4 weeks for April because it's a weird shaped month on the calendar. So each week I will pull a guide or a guardian, a message directly from source. This is a supporting message, something to build you up. And then the tarot will give us a challenge or something that maybe needs to work on or something that might come up that week, just as kind of a little heads up. So I'm using some newer decks. As I said, this year I'm going to rearrange some stuff, and so the new deck in this month's reading, for this quarter I should say, is the Starseed Oracle. All of the decks that I am using are linked in the description below. And with that, we'll get started with the first card for the first week of April for fire signs in 2023. And this card is the Ascended Master Buddha, and Peridote is the gem. Get the reflection off the screen here. I am graciously given the blessings needed at the best possible moment and in the best possible and healing way to support the manifestation to my divine destiny. The creative workings of the divine are at play in all aspects of my life at all times. I surrender to the untamed power of the divine heart, the supreme and graceful presence of the light within, allowing a higher order to unfold for the greater good of all beings. So what you have here for this very first week, your first guide and or guardian, is this concept of compassion. You've got Peridote, which resonates to the heart chakra because of its green color, and you've got the Ascended Master Buddha. Buddha's primary teachings were about compassion to the fellow man, understanding your place in the universe, and not allowing your ego to really be the dominant force. So for this first week, your guide and guardian are really saying it's time to bring it back to the center, bring it back to the heart, understand where you are in the world and how you function in the world, and looking at ways where you can improve that. And compassion is showing kindness without enabling, and there's sometimes where you can't tell the difference, and so it's just best to show kindness in those situations. But that's what the energy is coming forward for your guide or guardian for this first week of April. So let's look at your message from source. It's the Star Ancestors, Hidden Secrets, Lost Wisdom, and Looking Deeper. So as your guide and guardian are saying it's time to return to center, refine balance, and reconnect with yourself, and find your inner compassion, the message from source is saying your star ancestors, your galactic team, those who have been with you beyond this lifetime, and the people who have already ascended on, are now coming in to remind you and to teach you. This is a time, this first week is really about, as you're finding that center point, there's going to be knowledge that's going to start to open up to you. It might be something that you've already studied, you didn't quite understand. During this week with the Ascended Master Buddha and Peridote working with you, you might suddenly click that information. This could be a time of awakening to knowledge you already have possessed, where it suddenly becomes relevant, or you suddenly understand it. So look for little spontaneous bursts of insight in this first week, and as is said with the first card, really understand that it's time to look in. It's time to look a little bit deeper. It's time to understand more about who you are as a person. And it doesn't mean like psychology sitting down, tell me about your childhood. It's more about, who am I at my core? And only you can answer that. And a lot of times it's hard to do that, but if you're sitting and journaling, you can actually tap into that part and just allow the journal to free flow. Don't think about what you're writing so much as just let it out. And as you're doing that, you're going to start to see the real you start to come forward because your ego's not in the way at that point. So let's look at the lesson or challenge from the tarot for this first week. It is the Five of Water, so this is an emotions card. Things are not turning out the way you'd hoped, not seeing the positive in situations, and crying over spilled milk. So what this card is kind of giving you the heads up about is as you're going through this, you're working on compassion, you're tapping into the ancestral knowledge that you have, starseed as well as physical, and what that can do is bring up things that you may not want to acknowledge. And when that happens, you have this urge to put up a wall, put up an illusion, hide from it. So this card is saying things may not be the way you wanted them to be. As you're tapping into that knowledge, you're going to start to see things that may not be the way you always thought they were. You might have a blind taken off where you start to see things in the way that they are in a spiritual sense, and that might be a little bit frustrating or upsetting. And when that happens, this is that crying over spilled milk, because now you're devastated because, oh, the way it's always been, the things I've always known, it's all a lie. Well, yeah, that's life. And that's what this card is saying is don't be too upset when you start to realize the things that that you were taught your entire life may not be as true as you once thought they were. Because when you start to really tap into the flow of energy, of God source, divine energy, you start to understand that there have been things that we have been taught for years, and sometimes it's been generations, that were taught as a conditioning tool. This card is saying, be okay and understand that as we grow, as we awaken to who we are, as we strengthen that connection to God's source, divine energy, those illusions are going to be removed, and when that happens, that can be a little rough at times. Sorry. So let's look at week 2 for April, fire signs of 2023, guide or guardian. And I say guide or guardian because sometimes the message comes through as someone that's going to guide you, and other times it's ones that come through to help guard you through a situation. So they have similar energies, it's just one is leading you in, or one's walking beside you as a guide, the other one is walking ahead of you as a guardian. So, I don't know how to say this archangel. It's Angel Adnashiel and Tiger's Eye. Tiger Spirit Rises. So, there we go. I give my soul unconditional permission to be wild and free, to grow with confidence and fiercely pursue sacred passions. I have faith in my instincts towards growth and expansion. I uncage my heart and discover my wild and natural state of being, authentic, truthful, inspired, and awake. I live my truth with willingness to move towards new directions and new connections. I let my soul roar loud and proud. So during the first week, it was reconnecting, stepping away from the ego, allowing the inner knowledge to come forward, things to awaken within you so that you can understand life a little bit better. And the second week is saying, now that you've started on this process of clearing, grounding, recentering, being aware of the broader world in the spiritual sense, this week's card, the second week's guide or guardian, is saying, now that you're starting to see who you are, you can see basically the fabulousness, the amazing aspects of who you are. Allow that to come forward. It doesn't mean you actually literally have to go roar it from the mountaintops. You can if you are in that situation. But it's allowing yourself to be authentically you. And in a world where illusions and falsities, look at Hollywood, there's a few other things I could mention, they're not living their authentic self. They're trying to take on an identity because they think it's cool. They think it's the way to fit in is to be this type of person. This card's saying is, why are you doing that? Be yourself. Be the authentically unique person that you are. Be proud of it. It doesn't mean someone else has to like it by any stretch. And that's the challenge that is with this card, is kind of the energy that's coming forward, is when you are in your own standing, when you are standing on your own 2 feet, when you are being your authentic self, that other person's opinion doesn't matter, and you don't have to convince them. What you're doing is you're living authentically, and by doing that, you will inspire them. You don't have to convince them of anything, first of all. But by you being your authentic self and you understanding from the first week how to connect into who you are, understanding that knowledge, the second week is really shaping up to be, just from the first card anyway, to be a time of living your life authentically for the inspiration of others. Doesn't mean you're going to be aware that you're inspiring them by any stretch, but by you living authentically, it may inspire them. So your message from Source is breath of the cosmos, my will to thy will, micromanaging the universe. So your guide is saying step up and be your authentic self, and with this card it's saying with that, when you start to live authentically, you connect into the divine will. That divine will guide you to the next steps. Now, we always have free will of choice, but what this is saying is the breath of the cosmos is going to show you the next step along the path that you've currently chosen, the easier way of handling situations. That doesn't mean life's going to be easy, it's going to be the easier way. And sometimes, because of previous life decisions, because we are constantly making decisions, we're constantly taking forking roads, we end up down a path where it's like, oops, what just happened? And because your both decisions are now rough. One's rough taking you bad, one's rough but will bring you back to the positive. And so what this is saying is, as you're connecting in, you will start to see the path that will bring you back into an aligned state. So don't get overburdened with the details. And that's what the other part of this card is saying, is when you tap in, you're going to start being led to the authentic part of who you are, and that's going to bring you into balance. Don't worry about the details. The details will figure themselves out. Stay focused on that connection to Source. Stay focused on that spiritual part of your life, and allow the authenticity of who you are to be the guiding factor. So let's look at your lesson or challenge from the tarot, from the Angel Tarot here. And if you're enjoying this type of content, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please drop a like on it. And if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please feel free to drop those below as well. And on we go. The Queen of Fire, confident, warm, intelligent, and graceful. Stretch your wings and fly. Don't underestimate yourself. Assert your independence and creativity. So your lesson or your challenge is, don't hide. You have a guide or guardian that's saying live your authentic self. Be more bold in how you live. Your message from Source is saying, and as you're doing that, you're reconnecting, you're finding that balance, you're coming back into alignment. So things are going to be a little bit shaken up at times, and that's okay. Understand that as you do this, there's a growth period that happens. So your lesson or challenge from Source is saying, or from the tarot, is saying this is that time where you have to be careful to not be hard on yourself. Confidence, warmth, intelligence, grace are key words, because as you're going through this and you're starting to live more authentically, you're tapping in more to Source, you may see the path that you're on as being, what have I done? How can I be so stupid? This is the wrong thing. I can't believe someone let me do this. No. This card is saying be compassionate with yourself as well. The first week, it was compassion to understand yourself. Don't let the more forceful energy of the second week push you backwards. You still have to be confident, you still have to be warm and gentle with yourself, because as you're growing, there's going to be growing pains. And those may come up as doubts, they may come up as frustrations, and the Queen of Fire is saying, it's okay. You're growing, and growth, well, you have to pass through the flames, so to speak, so that you can grow. Gold shines brightest when it's been put through heat. So these are the things that you're working on in the second week, is you're becoming your more authentic self, but there may be some hiccups along the way, and to be understanding and compassionate with yourself, not just with other people. So let's look at the energy for the third week of April. And we have Angel Raziel, and the stone is Pierdecyte, Storm Wisdom. Try to get this where I can see it better. I am one with the storm of creative divine chaos that precedes the birth of new realities. I am cleansed and cleared of what I have been. I open a wild heart to what must be, for the souls to thrive and love to grow. With faith in spirit and my soul, I willingly enter into the process of transformation. Goodness and healing shall come from what is happening in my life. I trust in the divine beauty destined for me. So what you've got coming forward for this third week is Angel Raziel and Pierdecyte, which I'm not sure what that stone is. So you have this energy of the divine chaos. The first week you were understanding yourself. The second week you were living more authentically you. This third week is saying, as you're processing into that type of energy, there is a divinely inspired chaos. That means that your world, take a snow globe, shake it up a little bit, because things need to shift for you to continue your growth. Where you've been consistently for a while now is not always the best, and sometimes it's a minor shakeup where, you know, something happens at work, things get a little bit wonky for a couple of days and everything levels back out. It could be something more major than that, so just be aware that this is a shifting period of time, but it's being divinely guided, meaning source God divine energy is shaking you up to wake you up. You've been working on yourself a lot so far this month, and this energy is now saying don't get complacent, because the growth period isn't quite over yet. So you've got this energy of perpetual growth, but it's also a little bit of a shake-up. But as a fire sign and fire energy, this is something that you like. You like the movement, you like the shaking, you like the challenge of it. So during the first 2 weeks, it was more mellow, more emotional, which is fine, but this week is the guide or guardian you have for this week is really saying it's time to get back into the rock and roll. It's time to get back into that fire energy, that flashy, more movement, a little less order, a little less or a little more chaos. So the message from source is the earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, and time in nature. Nature is not as quiet and calm as people think. When you're out in nature a lot, there is a ordered chaos in the natural world. It's how it is. I've been out in nature most of my life. And when you're out there a lot, you see that there is an order to it, but you also see that there's a chaos that's coming through. So your guide or guardian is saying it's time to tap into your fiery roots and get back into this moving and shaking, understanding that the divine is going to do some shaking of the snow globe for you to get things moving again and get your fire side more activated. And part of that is getting out in nature, breaking the pattern. We're coming out of the winter in the northern months, northern hemisphere. So the winter, you're more inside. Even if you're a skier, you still spend a fair amount of time indoors. Even if you're a snowshoer, you still spend a fair amount of time indoors. Even if you're snowmobiling, indoors. And this card is saying part of that shaking things up is getting outside more. Even if it's just having the doors open, sitting on the back porch, going for a walk in the park, but doing things that are more outdoorsy. So this third week is changing up a pattern, and it could be something as simple as going out for a walk after dinner, or it could be something even more shake up than that. But being in nature is going to help keep you motivated and keep you moving, is the message I'm getting. So let's look at the lesson or challenge from the tarot. Well, that's weird. Kicked out 2 cards, so we shall see. Card number 1, the Chariot, Archangel Metatron, an important achievement, self-discipline and willpower, public recognition. And card 2 is the King of Fire. So this is the king of your element. Motivation, idealistic, ambitious, and charismatic. Focus, focus, focus. Communicate with vision and be a leader. Advice from someone creative. So your lesson or your challenge is your ascension, your growth is going to come through a creative process. You have the Chariot. Whoops, get the light off there. The Chariot with Archangel Metatron. Metatron is your ascension guide. That particular archangel, is here to guide humanity into its highest and most divine aspect. That angel is here to really bring you to the next level of your spiritual evolution. Then you have the King of Fire. This is the king of your element. This is the masculine aspect of your element. This angel is saying it is really time for you to step up. So you have this chaotic period, but the Chariot is saying this period of chaos is to move forward. Don't be alarmed by the chaos, and don't shy away from it. If you pull back, what happens when you pull back on an animal that's running full speed? They buck. So don't pull back, let it go. Understand that chaos is part of that growth. And as a fire sign, and that's where the King of Fire comes in, there we go, it's saying it's focus on the goals. Don't focus on the details. The details will sort themselves out. You have a mission, long-range goals. You have long-range missions, and you have the motivation. That's what the king, this masculine fire energy, is coming forward to say is, in this time, don't allow yourself to become lax or discouraged, because the movement forward is a lot more. There's a lot more motion forward than you realize. So if you try to pull back, you try to stop, you're really going to upend the apple cart, so to speak. So this is that thing of stay focused on the goal ahead. Don't worry about the stuff going on over here on the sides. Don't worry about the stuff behind you. You have a mission and a goal. Go towards it, move forward, being aware that you have Archangel Metatron, who is an extremely powerful archangel. Legend has it that he was the prophet Enoch at one point, and because his spiritual energy was so strong, when he ascended to heaven, he actually became angelic. So you have a very, very powerful angel who knows about growth, who knows about changing, and knows about ascending, working with you. So your challenge is to be able to, even when you don't want to, accept the chaos, roll with it, but keep your eye on the prize. That's the big message coming forward, is what is it that you're trying to build, focus, grow spiritually or physically, and understand that the motivation is there and it's really working with you right now. So let's look at the 4th week of April's Guide and Guardian. And we have the Angel Lahabiel and Black Tourmaline. So, get this, it's not reflected. Purification. I courageously choose to let go. I embrace healing and renewal. I release and surrender with perfect trust. I am cleansed through a powerful outpouring of spiritual grace. Spaciousness is now opening within me, beneath me, behind me, and before me. Within this clean and clear space, that which is outmoded is absorbed and reborn as unlimited. Potential for manifestation of new sacredness. Now is the time of potential and grace, which I amplify and activate through relaxation and release. I am blessed with the spiritual and cleansing and divine protection to begin again. So your last guide or guardian is really talking about what you've been doing this month is setting you up for something new. The first week, you was all about understanding yourself, finding compassion for others, coming back in as center. The second week, as you're coming into center, you're being the more authentic self. You're speaking and being more upfront about things, understanding there are illusions that have to be pulled away, and that could cause a little bit of roughness. The third week was all about shaking up that snow globe, understanding there's some new chaos coming in. It's divinely guided. And breaking some habits, some patterns, and some molds, but being aware that as you're doing that, you have a lot of motivation to go forward. So keep your eye on the prize. This week is saying you have this forward momentum, but it's something you need to remember is to stay pure. Stay working with the purest aspect of divine. The ego wants to step up and try to micromanage, try to control. This is saying stay grounded in the fact that you are taken care of. Your fiery nature is going to be pushing forward. You want to start new projects, and this is a time of new beginnings. And as those new beginnings are occurring, you have to purify, clear out, clean the stuff that's not working. They're also saying, my guides are also saying, that this is also a good time, this 4th week of April, is to finish those last minute cleaning projects before summer hits. Those spring cleaning projects, if they're not finished, this last week would be a good week to finish those up, just to work with the energy of purification, which is a cleaning period as well. So let's look at your message from Source. Whoa, that card literally just jumped out of the deck. And we have... Fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites and extremes in life. So when you are purifying and you're cleaning and you're clearing the world around you, what you're doing is you're surrendering the stuff that's not working, the dirt, the gunk, you're surrendering it, you're giving it up. When you do that, it allows you to step forward. It allows you to be able to live in an extreme environment. Because if you're kind of gunky, it's harder to live in that extreme of the ordered chaos, because you're going to be, as you're trying to live in that ordered chaos, you're holding on to stuff back here. So it's pulling you back, it's pulling you out of the new patterns, the new life that's trying to come forward for you. Being a fire sign, you want to keep going, you want to keep moving. So surrendering to your fiery nature and surrendering to the heart of the Creator is what this message is saying. When you do that, you'll notice that, yeah, there might be chaos around you, but you're seeing that next piece that you need. You're seeing that next step that you need to remember. When you're purified and you're clearing yourself out, it allows you to open up so that you can see these new opportunities, you can see those next steps. So you have that energy coming forward from Source this 4th week. And it's by surrendering, you're not giving up, you're stepping into the flow of life, saying, I don't need to be in control of this, show me what I need for the next part. And that allows you to do your work, which is staying focused and taking that next step. So let's look at the 4th week's message or lesson from the tarot. Could be a challenge, we'll see. Must be something interesting. There we go. Deck didn't want to give up. And we have the 7 of Earth. Seeds well planted, a temporary pause in action, and unnecessary worry. So the challenge that you're going to work with this 4th week is getting into your head. Don't do that. You're working with purification. You're working on clearing things. Your message from Source is to surrender into the process. Allow yourself to let go of those past things, those heavy things, things that aren't serving you. Work on the, the house cleaning, the mind cleaning. And what that's doing is it's getting you out of your head and more into your heart, which is where fire naturally lives. Fire gets into its head, it can get a little destructive at times, because you're always worrying and picking and trying to understand things that really aren't necessary. It's that micromanage, the devil in the details type stuff. So the 7 of Earth is saying, you've planted the seeds, you've started the process. Get out of your head, get back into the heart, get back into that intuitive part of who you are, and see the next step. Understand that next step might come through a dream. It might be as you're walking through the grocery store, you'll hear a phrase from someone else's conversation that just inspires that aha moment. But you're not going to hear that. You're not going to see that. You're not going to comprehend that if you're living in your head and you're in a constant state of, well, I could do this, but what about that? And what about this? And what about this? This month's reading is really about calming yourself, coming back into alignment, which allows you to see, to move forward. It allows you to see, to understand. It allows you to see so that the growth and spiritual guidance can come into you so that you can move forward in confidence, being your authentic self, and being honest with who you are. So with that, we'll wrap this up. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like. If you enjoy this type of content, please hit the subscribe button, and feel free to leave comments, suggestions, or even criticisms. As long as we're respectful, I think we all could use some more of that in life. So I will talk to you guys in a future video, and have an awesome month of April.